Bây giờ mới gắn vô chân máy nha. Chào bạn Thọ Lê. Để coi mình lấy cái microphone ra mình gắn vô mình nói chuyện để bớt ồn ào. Chào bạn Nguyễn Bạch Yến nha.
Mark.
Let's see. I thought of you when Alabama got beat.
Come on, man. That was a rough day of my life.
You guys had a modern day quarterback.
No, that was a rough third
And
quarter.
now you got a modern day. After I can predict when I first introduced him is
Wallace is gone.
he's going to go. He's going to
Brett
go.
knows something on that.
He doesn't look good. Yeah,
Well, he used to be a raging 3-9.
He's got the nose.
Okay? And because when I was a freshman, I got hazed. I held me down, shaved my head. I'm sorry?
Was Rollo the fix now?
It was Wayne Cochran at the moment, but he was the offensive coordinator. 84.
And Rollo got there and it didn't matter.
And then we had McKnight, who's over in basketball. Kenny kind of wearing away. people don't realize that John Wayne's grandson was a priest up at Our Lady of Guadalupe Church in Bahamas.
Well, McKnight used to coach at Ocean with Harris. That's what got him started. He was in the JV.
They've tried to lure him away time and time again. And not interested. He wants to stay local. But what I've heard, right, it's going to ratchet up. Because when they would do that, like, they ended up cutting my skull to the straight razor. And my mom and dad,
Well, one of the team is also important. They don't have to.
because my brother went to the quarterback who you played. Daniel. I graduated in 89, 84, he graduated in 90, 93. But he's in New York.
Yeah.
He just had a BKA. Right there. He works at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. I just got, he left there and he had some kids. They realized that his work ethic is a lot better. So the two kids ended up leaving and tried to coax him back. Coax him back. And they made him an offer I couldn't refuse. And he was just in Times Square, took my photograph. Times Square? And I told him, I said, you still got those pro law enforcement stuff on the back of your truck? And he says, yes. And I said, cover
New York, cover that.
well, the truck got vandalized in Portland. And so we called the Portland, it's the sheriff's department, they took care of it. And they took it really seriously. They took some photographs of it. And the doctor called him up and said, hey, thanks very much for good looking at this photograph. He said, it's the least we can do, man. He says, we help each other.
New York, maybe take care of that.
Well, I mean, hopefully, well, I'm still trying to get my credential.
You're right.
I'm still trying to get my credential. I don't think it's fair. Especially as I am. And I'm sorry to say, brother, I still don't. I still don't. I saw a guy capering over my neighborhood. No, because the last times I called, they haven't done anything. The last time I was 911, so we had a murder suspect at his house. A boyfriend came over. 3:30 in the morning, I could hear the car doing donuts in the middle of the cul-de-sac, and I thought, and I'm watching them on my security cameras. It's kind of scary because there's a palm tree, and then you see that, boom, boom, boom. So I called, and the dispatcher, I said, hey, I have a bench. And instead of saying, hey, we'll get out there. What makes you think you heard gunshots? And I said, well, I'm sorry, I'm going to get smart out. Do you think I don't know what a shark looks like? I've seen one up close. I said, I used to be another kind of insurance company. I said, the guy clearly took a couple of gunshots and then destroyed this lady's car, took the gun, busted open all the windows, okay, and I barely got a view of the vehicle going down the cul-de-sac. Now it's like, turned out it was white. It was a white RAV4, and we got him on the cabinet. Officers showed up. And I told my neighbor, he moved because of it. I said, okay? And he says, there's some gunshots. So he goes back in his house and comes out with his gun. He said, yeah, go back in the house. Westminster showed up, and he got out and he's in the park. He said, go back in your house. So when the guys showed up, and they said, hey, we have a problem with you, Mr. Woods?
He's over.
You can go 4:15. I said, Mark would say something else. I said, because you know what? I'll wake your chief up. That's when I called Mark. I said, hey man. And right here. So they said, do you think that radio you saw what happened? I said, the lights on. So I called the deal. I said, Susan's a good gal. As we were walking over there, I said, oh, by the way, you might want to take a look at that. And we looked down. And no, it's on the revolver. And then there was Ron Weber. And it was the same guy that showed up at an incident next door. Some DV incident. Okay? And that's when I was standing outside. And I could hear them saying, and I was like looking at it. And I looked at the female. Can we help you? She said, no, I just want to say I didn't have to fix that. But this,
good evening, everyone. If I can briefly have your attention. Thank you for your patience. The City Council is still in closed session, so I just wanted to let you know that that's what's happening right now.
so,
Obviously, they're still running a little bit behind, but I appreciate everyone's patience here.
the 14th is on Saturday. I want to see Dave there. Like I want to see, thank goodness Bill Eifert's there. The 14th is what day? The day my dad killed himself. Now is this this one here? Which one's Carl Sisson? Right here? I've left me messages a long time ago at the asking, hey, I hope you guys try to get something for Tom. A memorial.
For Tom.
Nobody called me back. Right? Nobody called me back. So, I'm sorry. Man. Something. Sure, go ahead. Have you ever met any officers before?
Yeah.
Never?
Years ago. Yeah. Years and years ago.
When did we meet?
When you were running for, remember they had the kennel up here?
Oh yes. Well, we don't have them anymore thanks to me.
I remember. Okay. So that was what?
2016.
I was gonna say probably about 6 years ago.
Now we never, of course,
Kind of.
nice to meet you.
Absolutely.
No, but there's still some deep-seated mistrust that I have with the Westminster Police Department. Guy, we dismissed that case. They would not give me back my credentials. Okay, even though they were overturned by the court. Well, you know why it happened? After I left the divorce, my own dad's house, wasn't looking for any problems. Went through the job. A major crime to from church. And they broke in front of my neighbor's house. And I said, hey, go out and put some weeds in the front yard. I broke in front of my neighbor's house. And I'm looking at my information. I said, go cops. I don't know what agency this is. Looking at me, looking at me, and they're certainly make a deal on the phone. And they said, look, FBI. Local County Sheriff, Major Plainsville, Detective John Loftus. In charge of the Sheriff Mark Williams. We know you're what do you want? What do you want? I said, you guys put me through that in a good time. Last year, the next watch the Sheriff's Department nurse. And they said, like this.
Mr. David Segura, our emergency services coordinator, who will provide a COVID-19 update. Welcome.
Hello, Honorable Mayor, City Council members, city staff, and community members. It is my pleasure to present the monthly COVID-19 update. Since my last report, we haven't had many significant changes on police locally with our mandates or even our numbers. Nothing significant. We've had some increases, and I'll share with you some of that. So, according to the CDC, the Omicron variant, this BA2, as I reported before, continues to be the dominant variant of COVID cases in the U.S. As previously reported, BA2 is an easily transmitted version of the original Omicron coronavirus. Though BA2 is rising in the U.S., leading public health officials continue to report that they are not expecting another dramatic surge in these cases. This is largely due to the amount of immunity within our population. The increase in COVID cases is relatively low when compared to the last winter surge. The CDC's community level chart shows that much of the U.S. is at the
to come in and greet them. The mission of these riders
up in May and continue to August by encouraging all families, parents, residents, school, recreational facilities, businesses, and homeowner associations to partner in preparedness by raising their knowledge of proper safety measures in drowning prevention. So that's for OCA. We have the next proclamation. All right. The next proclamation, Mental Health Awareness Month, May 2022, whereas the mental health and well-being of children and families is significant, especially during the challenge of dealing with pandemic and mental health crisis, where during these challenging times, it's important to be aware, support these in need, and access resources, access family, friends, and community members in need, and where religion and cultural tradition of Asian American and Pacific Islander is continuously fostered to strengthen the fabric of American society. Therefore, I, Chui Tong, Mayor of the City of Westminster, on behalf of Vice Mayor Carla Menzel, Council Member Tidal, Kimberly Hall, Chief Charlie Nguyen, do hereby proclaim May 2022 as Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the City of Westminster, and encourage all Westminster residents to celebrate this time and recognize the importance of the contribution of recreation and Pacific Islander American to the community. So this month is Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Okay, that's all we have for our proclamation. Thank you. Next, we have our communication.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a time of the meeting that members of the public may address the City Council regarding any items on or not on the agenda and that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council, except public hearing items. Members of the public wishing to address the public, members of the public wishing to speak have submitted speaker cards. If there are any other ones, we will receive those. And you will be called to
this person. And in the past, City of Westminster has to pay a lot of damage to because you violate the laws of City of Westminster. I came here to bring up the issue of the City of Westminster, and I hope all of you have to work together as a group, not in a group together of 5, not as a gangster of 3. Therefore, it is not good to operate in that way. Thank you for listening to my concern. Thank you.
the next speaker is Joe Dominguez.
My request is simple. I would like my words translated into Vietnamese. In consideration of inclusion for all that listened to our comments, as I felt very included when Councilmember Ho translated into English for me as she spoke to her constituents. Is that possible this evening?
Yes.
Attorney?
If this is an item on the agenda, and I realize, so we're gonna have a discussion later. But if you read that staff report, it explains the language in the Brown Act. It specifically states that the purpose is to communicate for non-English speakers, to communicate to the city council. So for that reason, the council could allow that, but that's discretionary. But from the Brown Act standpoint, we're not required to translate to another language. The purpose is to stack and translate and speak in English. To speak in English.
So I'm asking for respect, not a requirement, so it would be up to those seated here this evening if they choose to allow it. I'd be happy to shorten my speech to 2.5 minutes. I'm perfectly capable.
I'm okay with the rest of the council.
Yeah, so,
I'm okay with her request.
yeah, it's up to the council.
Thank you. I'll be kind enough to pause. There will be a pause in each paragraph for you if that helps.
Yeah, I would like to remind the council that we're going to set the precedent. If we allow today, then we have to allow for every city council meeting. Go ahead.
But before she goes, to be clear, we're talking about a total of 5 minutes. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, total. Go ahead.
But, Councilman, but no, we're brought up to the board if we allow for to speak English and to Vietnamese Spanish, we have to allow that.
Correct. We're not required to allow it. The
Oh, we're
council
not
is choosing to allow that.
And so does that mean we have to allow it all the time?
Because
So I would say we allow it today because we don't have a policy set. But I believe we should, set our policy that for today, we're gonna make this exemption. And then let's include that into our policy or agenda so we can discuss and update our policy. So at that time, we may decide to go ahead and continue that, add that into our policy so we can extend that courtesy to everyone, or we would, whatever you decide at that time. Okay? So, but for tonight, it's not in our policy to not allow her. So we'll just we'll allow her tonight.
5 minutes total, and then the translator will translate that into Vietnamese.
Thank you, council members. Tonight is the time for a history lesson, a lesson that the council needs to hear from the citizens of Westminster.
Hôm nay là một cái đêm về học lịch sử mà các vị thành viên của Hội đồng nhân thành phố cần phải nghe.
I am the descendants of immigrants who came here seeking a better life through a democracy in which the right to vote was paramount to liberty and happiness.
Tôi là một cái người hậu thế của những cái người di dân, và di dân đến đây để tìm tự do dân chủ. Và trong cái gì tự do dân chủ có những cái quyền đi bỏ phiếu là một việc rất là quan trọng.
My grandmothers were both born into and lived in the United States where the right to vote was denied by their gender.
Bà ngoại của tôi đấy là cái người đã sinh ra ở Mỹ đây. Tuy nhiên đó bà ta đã không có được phép đi bỏ phiếu tại vì cái giới tính của bà ta.
That all changed with the 19th Amendment. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex.
Và cái việc đó đã được thay đổi bởi tu chính án thứ 19, nói là những cái người sinh ra ở Mỹ hay trong cái thuộc địa của Mỹ cái quyền lợi của họ sẽ không có bị giới hạn bởi ủy ban như là liên bang về vấn đề mà đi bầu hay là về vấn đề giới tính.
The simplicity of this statement took decades to ratify. My grandmothers, my mother, my father all made voting the center of our world. It was a rite of passage. That day we went to the polls was as a family.
Và cái đấu tranh để giành quyền lợi cho những người không phải giới tính nào được đi bầu đó đã mất rất là lâu và giành được, và cái tu chính án đó đã mất rất là nhiều giờ để được chấp thuận hay là thông qua, và chúng tôi đã làm thành công, đã đạt thành công cái chuyện đi bầu.
But what does all this have to do with our city council and the public comments this evening?
Và cái này có liên quan gì tới hội đồng nhân dân thành phố đây cũng như là những cái lời của công chúng có đây.
Tonight I see that again there is not an agenda item to put a measure on the ballot of our voters to save our city. pass a sales tax measure. Again, I am here to confront the reality forced upon us by the inactive council that insists on denying our citizens the right to vote on an issue that is ours to decide, but instead they act as gatekeepers to the vote.
Hôm nay có thấy là những kênh có ra đề tài nói về việc để cho cư dân bỏ phiếu về vấn đề mà thuế sau này. Đáng lẽ đó là cái quyền mà cư dân nên có, và hội đồng nhân dân thành phố đây nên là cái người mà mở cửa dẫn đường để cho những người cư dân có thể bỏ phiếu về cái việc đó. Tuy nhiên thay vì làm cái việc đó thì quý vị là cái người đứng canh cửa không cho người ta làm cái việc như vậy.
Gatekeepers to the vote sound familiar?
Cái việc mà đứng để canh cửa, đóng cửa không cho người ta bỏ phiếu đó, nghe có quen quá phải không?
I am here to inform and educate our citizens to stand up and demand that this council stop denying and suppressing our right to vote.
Từ đó hôm nay tôi đến đây đó là để lên tiếng để yêu cầu đòi hỏi hội đồng nhân dân thành phố để cho cư dân của thành phố có cơ hội để đi bỏ phiếu.
We face imminent collapse without the tax measure. We will be bankrupt as a city by 2025.
Và nếu mà không có cái việc bỏ phiếu để chấp thuận cái thuế này đó, thì đến năm 2025 thành phố này nó sẽ sụp đổ về cái chuyện này.
That means no city service, no police department.
Thì như vậy là không còn có những cái dịch vụ của thành phố cung cấp nữa.
Why bother?
Có cảnh sát nữa.
Without these services.
Những cái dịch vụ này đó, cái dịch vụ mà thành phố cung cấp này nó tại sao mình phải lo?
We will cease to be a city.
Thì như vậy là thành phố này sẽ không còn dịch vụ.
We will simply be folded into a larger unincorporated area with the closest station of the Orange County Sheriff being Yorba Linda.
Và như vậy đó, mình sẽ không còn là thành phố nữa, mình sẽ bị sát nhập vô.
An average response time.
Và cái sở cảnh sát gần nhất đó là ở Yorba Linda.
With an average response time of 40 minutes.
Và cái thời gian mà cảnh sát đến đáp ứng những cuộc gọi của cảnh sát nó mất khoảng 45 phút.
Let that sink in while you consider what the city council of vote gatekeepers is withholding.
Quý vị hãy suy nghĩ, cân nhắc cái việc đó đi. Rồi xem đó, hội đồng nhân dân thành phố đây đó, họ là những cái người mà đứng cản cả cái việc mà đưa cái vấn đề thuế đó ra để cho cư dân ở đây có được đáp hộ.
Speak up, have your voice heard. Voting is at the heart of democracy.
Quý vị hãy lên tiếng để cho người ta nghe được cái tiếng nói của quý vị. Đó là cái cánh yếu của ngành dân vụ. Cảm ơn quý vị.
City Council, my name is Conrad Gomez, and I'm on the Palm Tree Committee, and I am also a president of Vietnam Veterans American Action 56 out of Long Beach. And I'd just like to review a couple of things on the Brown Act that I'm confused about. And first of all, I have the response job application, and then the signed the code of ethics, and a copy of the utility bills, and the driver's license. And that was due in September 22, 2021. That was completed. I received an email on September 29th. Congratulations, you are receiving this email because you have been appointed to the Palm Tree Monument Committee, and contacting you to inform you about a couple of things that you need to be completed by the first meeting. That was October 24th, 2021. That was sworn in. So as it tells you right here, it says swearing in process, ethics training. Ethics training is how to take the AB 1234 ethics training. You have to take it. You are required to complete 2 hours of ethics training in general ethics principles and state laws every 2 years. Also, please make sure that you give yourself a minimum of 2 hours to complete the training. If your completion time reflected on your certificate is under 2 hours, your training will not be considered completed. Well, out of the 13 members of that committee, only 3 are valid. I have 5 here, and as just give you the times. I won't go through the names, but if you need the copies, I'll certainly give you a copy. The first person did it in 3 hours and 57 minutes. Another person, I did it in 3 hours and 59 minutes. Another person did it in 5 hours. This one completed in 1 hour and 53 minutes. That means he has to retake the test. Okay, the next person, 1 hour and 55 minutes. That person has to take the test again. So in other words, out of the 13 members that you had on this committee, there's only 3 of us that did what the city required. Why is that? The city attorney on December 21st sent a letter to the committee, and it was read to the committee stating that there was Brown Act violations and also that they needed to get this online course done that was supposed to have been done by October 24th. Obviously, they paid no attention to it. And to me, that shows complete disrespect to not only the city council, but to the citizens of the city of Westminster and the state of California. If you're going to be on a committee and you're supposed to have ethics training, well then do it. It's an honor to be on a committee. It's just like you do your duty. I know some of us don't want to do it, but it's our responsibility. I can't understand how this was overlooked. You know, we have a city manager. What? Well, why was this? Well, what was the penalty for not doing it? Were you allowed to be on there or not? You know, and in committee, I don't understand why there was 11 Vietnamese and 2 Americans. That's the 2 Vietnam veterans. And we have 11 Vietnamese. I just want to understand that. Why would you set us up for failure? And I've said that to you before. And this is one of the reasons. And I can give you a whole book. But anyway, if you're going to pass out these tests for us to do, then have everybody comply. Thank you.
Robert Harrison, please come forward.
The mayor, city council, staff. The Quandary Committee held their meeting Monday and voted. Some of the truths about the depiction display and the committee's failures in violating the Brown Act and no code of ethics are being presented here. Initially, we were proud to be a part of creating an historically accurate Quandary monument, especially being open to the general public and to honor the true heroes from the American side and the Vietnamese side. What a total failure. The city council has been provided details of these failures, knows the truth, and ignores it. The monument is not historically accurate. The general public has been excluded entirely, and American involvement is left out. Evidence abounds from pictures, actual newsreels, historical research. There's no citadel wall with a pagoda on top of it behind soldiers raising a flag. Instead of a committee of 13, including alternates, this was a committee of 1 that the city staff bent over backwards and worked with exclusively, accommodating every step along the way. Evidence of Brown Act violations provided the city have been ignored. The Vietnamese patches have never been vetted. The rear hidden panel has never been presented, and it's not in the presentation you're going to receive. You only have 4 American and 14 Vietnamese patches on the ever-changing depictions for the front of the monument. The rest of the monument, Vietnam veteran patches, are regulated to a non-existent rear panel. The vote was 9-2, the 2 American veterans. The militaristic narrative was voted on, also 9-2, as proposed, is wrong for a public monument, not correct, and disorganizing, lacking key facts. America's involvement is missing. It is poorly written, names are wrong, soldier ranks are wrong, misspellings. Limited corrections are going to be made. However, I thought that there was going to be an intelligent oversight of the narrative, not just converting Vietnamese to English, but an intelligent oversight of the whole thing. No one has been addressing the size of the monument. It is massively too large to be placed in a public park. Larger than the Vietnam War Memorial at Freedom Park. The two parts of the proposed monument, which is not historically accurate, offer a makeshift homeless shelter where view of illicit activities will be hidden. Its tempting cartoon depiction will be a jungle gym for the youth to climb on and be part of the soldiers and fall and get hurt. I prepared a detailed list of concerns with the depiction display, sent it in an email to the committee, the city council, met with committee members in my home and publicly, met with certain city officials, where from most, I was asked to compromise America. Can I compromise? This is a Vietnamese monument. Speaking with many committee members individually along the way, they were in agreement with some and were going to work with me, and then the door slammed shut. No further communications. I knew they talked with Kenny before their meeting and after a meeting. 2 Americans were added to the Vietnamese committee to lend credibility to the project, then excluded 100%. Did it start with Kimberly Ho's Brown Act violation of total involvement with the committee, emailing everybody on the committee, including Fat Louie, do not respond to Bob. There were many different military coalitions in the Vietnamese community. This coalition is made up of one committee. The Vietnamese community of Southern California, the military community that uses the Vietnamese library, the military community that runs the prayer vigil on Sunday. They don't all get along. They don't all represent the city. City should not pay homage to only one coalition because it does not represent the entire Vietnamese community. And what about the majority non-Vietnamese citizens? Stupid is knowing the truth, seeing the truth, but still believing in the lies. Please remove the American passage, front and back, and the token mention of American involvement. This is a Vietnamese only monument. Respect America.
Please come forward.
Mayor, City Council. My name is Brad Wade, and I'm a public works supervisor for the City of Westminster, as well as a member of the Westminster Municipal Employees Association for 25 years plus. I oversee the parks, streets, trees, graffiti, median maintenance, and numerous contractors that keep the city clean and respectful. The limited staff that work for me are good at what they do. Their professionalism, their knowledge, their work ethic, their attitude, and their ability to interact with the residents in a caring way. The reason why I say limited is the fact that we hire qualified employees. However, they resign and take jobs elsewhere in neighborhood cities. The reason for this is due to competitive salaries. There are residents mainly near the parks that have built a communicative relationship with some of the park staff, dealing with graffiti, parks, and playground safety. The fact that our public works staff is ready and resilient when that phone call comes into the corporation yard, that fact adds to a level of satisfaction and security for the residents of the city. That fact is a hard fact that you cannot take for granted. You, the council for this city, are going to vote on motion 5.2 tonight to help build a valuable work staff and help promote qualities that I mentioned above. With this compensation package that will benefit you as the council, public works staff, and most important, the residents of this city. Thank you. I'm Vice President of the Westminster Municipal Employees Association. I'm here tonight to represent the members of our association who could not be here and extend gratitude on 5.2. First and foremost, on behalf of our members, we would like to tell you, thank you. We as WMEA members are proud to call Westminster our second home. And I say home because we spend about 80% of our lives with each other, working here in the city. We as WMEA employees take pride in what we do. From cleaning parks, repairing streets, replacing signs, fixing water lines, repairing facilities, going out on calls as PD, and the list goes on. We want to continue to make our council shine. And we want to make this city a place where the community is proud to call home. We will be able to retain our current and future employees with this new contract. This will help the city keep and attract future employees in a current competitive market that includes water, parks, streets, facilities, police department, rec, and city hall. Now this could not have been accomplished with the city as a whole, with just us, but the city as a whole. I feel and know this was a collective collaboration between management and WMEA, doing what is best for the city. I want to thank our city manager for believing in her facilities, city hall, PD, and public works teams. Without her, the team of HR, and the public works director, this would not be possible. Thank you again.
Almost like we planned it. Can I start with, it's good to see all of you in person. The last 2 years, it's the whole Zoom, and I know you've heard my voice, but this is me. So good evening, council members, officers, directors, ladies, gentlemen. My name is Dan Aker. I have a problem. First time I spoke with her, I didn't need these. Here we go. My name is Dan Aker. I'm the president of WMEA. They say it takes a village. I've been part of this village for almost 10 years now. And in the big picture of things, it's not that long. But I did grow up right down the street. I used to play football. I used to wrestle. I used to attend MUN conferences at Westminster High School. I work on vehicles for the city. I guess you could say I like to repair broken things. As president of WNBA, I've had the privilege of working with some amazing individuals. I've also experienced the sadness of watching them leave. These mentors, as I like to call them, give Westminster its character. They defined who we are as a city and lifted us to be part of the village. A few years ago, I spoke up. You remember. I said, we need Westminster not to be a pass-through city. We need a city people come to see, come to play, come to worship, come to enjoy our culture. It still holds true today. I still believe this is the way and this is who we are. I believe in this town, this city, this village. A mentor is someone who has unparalleled knowledge, someone we learn from, someone who guides us, someone who has made the mistakes so we don't have to. Currently, we lose mentors on a daily basis. These people, they train new employees. These are the people who know how to treat Westminster water. They know how to de-escalate a violent situation. They know how to help a homeless man. Some of them even know how to maintain a 4th floor. It's not such a nightmare. Some of them help a kid get through his first flu vaccine. It takes a village. Part of our issue is we don't take care of the people taking care of us, so they leave. We try so hard to find that right person. We go through so many checks and balances. We have to get the right one. And when we finally do, when we find that perfect person, we do nothing to keep them. We had a kid, we had a young man, Cornelius. You guys have to know him. He came to us through the Police Explorer program. I want to say he was police volunteer staff of the year at some point. He attended the police academy. He flew through our police training program. He was destined, it seemed to me at least, to be one of the best. And then he left. Because the gap was too much. He absolutely loved it here. From my view, albeit jaded, he loved being a Westminster police officer. But the gap was too much. So we trained a really good one, and we gave him to Newport Beach. And there's a number of very similar stories where Westminster employees couldn't weather the gap. They didn't see a plan, and we lost them. It takes a village. I'd like to thank the people who saw the issues and said, let's get this fixed. Starting with you guys, starting with council. Without your guidance and your efforts behind the scenes, we could not come up with solutions, not for one group, but the city, the whole city. The city manager and her staff, your tireless efforts show that you want to retain quality staff, mentors, if you will. The negotiation teams, from both sides. Your ideas, your out-of-the-box thinking, your let's get this figured out, saved the city many days of frustration and heartache. Thank you all. I'd also like to thank our residents. Thank you for being patient with us as we try to replace lost staff to address city issues. We are here for you, we want to help you.
Your time is expired.
Thank you.
Speaker Kyle.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. I would like to start out by thanking the HR Director, Jody Breiner, Finance Director, Karen Dax, WBA President Dan Napier, and the rest of the city staff for the diligent work on this proposal. Passing this revised MOU means so much to the members of the Westminster Police Officers Association and their families. These same members risk their lives on a daily basis for the safety of our community. This is going to greatly help with our work conditions, including but not limited to our efforts in retention and competitive recruitment, as well as minimizing.
Spirit of the law. Transparency in the welfare of the community is at the heart of AB 481. Military items 3, 4, and 6 listed in the PD's policy list riot and crowd control under authorized use or purpose. AB 48 clearly states, except as otherwise provided in subdivision B, kinetic energy projectiles and chemical agents shall not be used by any law enforcement agency to disperse any assembly, protest, or demonstration. Crowds are not riots. Laws are laws, and you don't get to bend them as necessary to aid bad actors in getting away with violence against the public. AB 48 also says that you need to identify persons engaged in violent acts, and the kinetic and chemical weapons are only to be aimed at those individuals. Projectiles shall not be aimed indiscriminately into a crowd or group of persons. I would like to see more emphasis regarding these issues in your policy. Rules of engagement should not be vague. They should be crystal clear. Additionally, you direct people to the policy handbook. The goal and purpose of this bill was to bring about transparency, not send the public on a wild goose chase to see when and what military weapons can and will be used against them. AB 481 requires that the quantity possessed be disclosed. The department has failed to do so. You've given a number not to be exceeded. With all due respect, I don't give a damn about how many you'd like to have. I have a legal right to know how many you have on hand right now.
AB 481 also requires approval for additional purchases of this equipment. If we don't know how many you currently have, how do we know you haven't exceeded your proposed maximum? These items are purchased with tax dollars. They belong to us. Account for them. I have specifically and intentionally focused on military equipment labeled for riots and crowd control. 50% of this country is on the verge of losing fundamental rights to their bodies and privacy. We aren't going down without a fight. So when I and others take to the streets exercising our First Amendment right to peacefully protest, I don't want to be shot at with less legals again because the department had unclear policies and procedures that skirted the law. I'm probably one of few, if not the only person in this room that's ever lived through the trauma of being fired at and hit by less legals that left my body riddled with cuts and bruises for days. If it were up to me, you wouldn't have any or the majority of the items on this list. I personally believe that allocating funds to help the community at large is a much more effective way to combat crime. When community needs are met, crime inherently goes down. AB 48 and 481 also require a complaint process. The PD has chosen their standard complaint process, which is fine. However, I would suggest putting a tab on your homepage for complaints. Additionally, I ask you this: how is the public at large supposed to trust that a fair and just investigation will be concluded when everything is done in-house behind closed doors with no oversight from the community? If and when issues are sent out to be investigated, we send them to the DA Todd Spitzer's office, who's currently endorsed by the Westminster Police Officers Association. Legal or not, it has a pay-to-play vibe, falls incredibly short of fair or just, and definitely leaves an impression of impropriety. It's no secret that over the years, the relationship between PDs and communities has become increasingly strained. Trust is earned. Trust is not built in secrecy. When there's a lack of transparency, you aren't asking for trust. You're asking for blind faith, and frankly, I don't have that. Over and over, we've seen officers above reproach for their actions. Militarizing them only makes it worse. Despite the claim that this equipment makes communities safer, research has consistently shown it does not. In fact, it causes more harm, and communities of color are adversely affected at alarming rates. I ask for this council to request revisions to item 3.6 so as to be more transparent, truthful, forthcoming, and more aligned with the letter and spirit of the law. Bring it back to the next council meeting. The law is clear and the public has a right to know. The PD wants trust, we want and deserve transparency and accountability. And for the last 9 seconds, I ask for a moment of silence due to the Department of Interior's report that came out today regarding the 53 burial sites at residential schools.
Next speaker is Deborah Mariscal.
Good evening, Deborah Mariscal, Westminster. I did want to talk about the police department. I have been blessed to do 2 ride-alongs. I did one in December of 2019, and that week we had 1 arrest that evening. We were doing a backup to Paco and Officer Travis. That misdemeanor became a felony when we got into the jail. I went this Saturday night, and the events that I'm going to give you are not in order of the events, and again, I kind of put them together as to make it a little bit easier. And I only got about 3.5 hours because the officer that I was with had an earlier shift. So hopefully I can get to go again. So the first instance that I'm going to talk about was at Stater Brothers on Newland and Westminster. We had a gentleman shopping with a machete in his backpack and had multiple calls from citizens and from the store manager. So we had 4 police officers and a sergeant, I believe, that went to discuss things with him and get him to leave. He probably was homeless. He did get on his skateboard and took off with his, with his purchases, but that was pretty scary. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the homeless. There is a man probably in his 50s, and I'm going to call him Newland Michael. He has found a house on Newland halfway between Trask and Westminster that he is using as his personal restroom. So we got a call for that, we went to that. He pretended to have an epileptic seizure. The officer was familiar with him, he knew his name was Michael, was able to see that he had not had a seizure, were able to get him up and on his way. The reason I'm bringing that up is because yesterday, I was walking my dogs about 11:30 in the morning, and there he is again. Same spot, same thing. I'm a little bit afraid to walk the streets with my dogs. I can't get a police escort, but it shouldn't be like that. I said it shouldn't be like that. We had another instance with another homeless gentleman that the officer I was with had arrested him prior for slashing tires in the Little Saigon Shopping Center. He was spent a couple days in jail and then was released, and now again he's homeless. And then we have another instance at the Chevron on Beach and McFadden, a lady that was doing some shoplifting. They actually had their own private patrol with an armed guard who was there. We had 3 officers that went to that location and also a supervisor. It probably took about 20 minutes to get that lady to go away. She was higher than a kite. So that was our homeless situation that we had. The officer that I was with is Vietnamese, so he did a translation for a lady that didn't understand that the streets belong to citizens and they can park in front of her house. And so she's pounding on cars that had parked in front of her house, so we went and did that. Did a few miscellaneous traffic stops. The thing that got me more than anything, because I know I'm aware that we have slap houses here in Westminster. I had no idea how many in a small geographic area of where this officer was supposed to patrol. I quit counting at 6. We met up other officers, and everybody was fabulous, all the people that I had interaction with. We have so much crime in this city that is underground that it is phenomenal, and we need to do something about it. I am here to support our police department. The last thing that I did was we had a noise complaint for a birthday party. They had a jumper in the back of the house, and it was a kids' party. It was 11 o'clock at night. We went. They were very nice. 3 officers for that. We need to keep the tax. We need to be able to allow the citizens to vote on keeping the tax. And if you're not willing to allow us to do that, it's just a different way of saying defund the police.
My name is Natalie Nixon. I am a part of the WMEA, and I've been speaking for 17 years. My role is an accounting assistant, and I am building a lab with the customer, other customer on the phone and in person. And I am always find a way to help customer whatever they need. And the important thing is I am speak Vietnamese, so many of the Vietnamese customers ask the question and ask to talk to Vietnamese employee. And it's fortunate that I am right now is only one Swiss Vietnamese in the water department. Because my title is accounting assistant, so I help a lot with the water billing and to prepare to send out the bill for the customer. And up till now,
Good evening, everyone. My name is Travis Gillespie, and I am one of 23 employees of your water department, under the Public Works Division, and also the current secretary of the Westminster Municipal Employees Association. I have been employed here for 5 years now, and it has been the best 5 years of my life. I am thankful to be part of a team that passionately maintains your water system and consistently provides the citizens of Westminster with clean and reliable drinking water. We have worked tirelessly and seemingly unnoticed throughout the pandemic, maintaining this city's parks, streets, and water system. Over the past 5 years, we have lost 10 valuable team members in the water department to other organizations because of competitive salaries. We in the water department would like to thank you for pushing this new contract forward on Measure 5.2. Without it, we will see the city's parks, streets, facilities, and water system change drastically for the worse if we cannot retain valuable and passionate team members. Thank you everyone for listening, and thank you council for your time and consideration.
Please come forward. Hi, Rob.
Good evening, everyone.
Chào các bạn.
Before I start my speech in Vietnamese, I'd like to apologize to the non-Vietnamese speaking, especially Westminster.
Trước khi tôi nói tiếng Việt, phát biểu tiếng Việt đó, tôi xin lỗi những người mà không nói tiếng Việt được, đặc biệt là phó chủ tịch Westminster.
I think the interim city manager already explained to me, this is about, I'm supposed to speak to the council, not address the residents.
Thì như quyền tổng giám đốc của thành phố nói đó, đáng lẽ là phải phát biểu nói cho những người ủy viên và thị trưởng nghe, thay vì cái người dân đây.
But I think between my speaking English ability and the mayor's ability to understand comprehensively, I think it's better that I speak to him in Vietnamese.
Vì vấn đề mà anh em nói chuyện anh của tôi như vấn đề hiểu của thị trưởng, cho nên là tôi muốn phát biểu bằng tiếng Việt.
Tôi xin được tiếp tục chứng trưng ra những bằng chứng để chứng minh rằng những lời tố cáo của tôi về ông thị trưởng.
I would like to continue with the presentation of my evidence regarding Mayor Bat.
Về việc ông Khoa gặp với những thành phần bất hảo, côn đồ, lưu manh, trực những tàu vu khống, truyền thông báo chí độc lập.
Regarding about the fact that he conspires with undesirable element thugs to oppress independent press and media.
Đàn áp những tiếng nói đối lập.
To oppress dissenting voice.
Là sự thật 100% tôi không thể bị đặt vô quan cho ông.
This is 100% true. I'm not only accusing you.
Giáng sinh 2019 khi ông sách động lôi kéo một số được gọi là tăng ni.
So back in Christmas or 2019, you incited a group of the so-called nuns and monks.
Từ những tỉnh quen hoặc thành phố khác về Westminster để biểu dương lực lượng bảo vệ ghế thị trưởng của ông.
From other cities and states to Westminster here to protect to show as a show of force to protect your seat as mayor.
Dưới chiêu bài tận thủ An Lộc, ông vung khống cho tất cả những ai dám lên tiếng chỉ trích phê bình ông.
Invoking the Anglo last stand to attack and criticize people who dare to criticize you.
Tất cả những ai dám lên tiếng chỉ trích phê bình ông là tay sai của cộng sản.
So according to you, all those people who dare to speak up and to criticize you
em của ông đã sử dụng truyền thông việc người vô đã được tuyên truyền.
You and your underling have utilized those unethical Vietnamese media to spread your propaganda.
Tuyên truyền rằng những cư dân như tôi còn nguy hiểm hơn việc tổng.
And your propaganda is that dangerous residents like myself are worse than the communists.
Trong cuộc biểu tình đám đông phe cờ của ông đã chiêu nghiệp nữ diệt tàu cộng rồi mới diệt Việt Cộng.
So in that instance where you have the people took to the street, you have a slogan that say, let's destroy
Communist China.
let's destroy communist China, and then we will destroy the
Vietnamese communists.
Vietnamese communists.
Hòa thượng Thích Thông Lai, vị lãnh đạo tinh thần của đám đông cuồng loạn này đã phán rằng
Monk Thích Thông Lai, the spiritual leader of this crowd, said this.
bọn Việt gian tay sai mà ngay sau đó ông thị trưởng Chí Tạ và người viên sau lưng Nguyễn Mạnh Trí đã gián tiếp đồng ý với lời của cáo buộc của Trịnh Phong vu khống tôi là đi xe Việt Cộng.
That monk said that the traitor of Vietnam, and after that, Mayor Tha, as well as Council Member Charlie Nguyen, have indirectly agreed with these slogans and these accusations by Trần Nhật Phong.
Vu khống cho tôi là Việt Cộng tay sai, cộng sản.
Labeling me as a latchkey of the communists.
Đã dám đánh phá ông và quấy rối cộng đồng.
And that I have attacked him and tried to stir up trouble in the community.
Sau đó họ phát động đám đông buông vào thành phố và tấn công tôi.
After that, they incited the crowd to surround and then attack me.
Hai ông Điền Nhiên vui vẻ thích thú đứng xem.
And the two of you were acting as if nothing happened and you were there just enjoying it.
Thích thú đứng xem tôi và cụ nhà báo Lão Thành Nguyễn Mạnh Cường bị đám đông quan vây hành hung mà không hề lên tiếng.
You were enjoying it. You saw that the crowd were attacking me, and this season's newspaper person, Human Win, and you did not do anything to stop that.
Mà không hề lên tiếng can thiệp nếu không nói là hạng hê và vui mừng.
You did not speak up. You did not intervene to stop it. Instead, you were gloating.
Trước đây, ông tung tin fake news tuyên truyền rằng nghị viên tài nổ muốn đổi tên thành phố Westminster thành Hồ Chí Minh City.
You have previously spread fake news saying that City Council member Tai Do want to change the name of the city of Westminster to Ho Chi Minh City.
Ông tiếp tục sử dụng mô tỉ và YouTuber nam quan để hung phong phu quân của nghị viên Kimberly Hồ là tàu tàu.
And you continue to employ or utilize YouTuber Nam Quang and also Ngô Kỷ to accuse City Council member Kimberly Ho's husband as a communist candidate.
Mới đây, Ngô Kỷ và Nam Quang lại tiếp tục quỹ đạo vu khống phụ thân của vợ nghị viên Thách Bùi là đại tá cộng sản.
And recently, Ngô Kỷ, Kimo, and YouTuber Nam Quang continue to always accuse the father-in-law of our city council member, Catboy of the city of Don Valley, as a high-ranking member of the Communist Vietnam.
Trong buổi họp lần trước, ông cấm không cho tôi phát biểu bằng tiếng Việt.
So in a previous meeting, city council, you prohibited me from addressing the council in Vietnamese.
Vì ông cho rằng tôi nói được tiếng Anh.
Claim that, or because you claim that I can speak English.
Sau khi những nghị viên tài đủ dạy dỗ cho ông phải tôn trọng quyền công dân của tôi.
And after you were lecturing my council member title to respect my
ông là chối bảo rằng ông không cấm tôi phát biểu bằng tiếng Việt.
And you then deny that you did not try to prohibit me from addressing the council in Vietnamese.
Mà chỉ bất bình vì tôi đã lạm dụng kẽ hở của pháp luật để phát biểu đến 15 phút trong lần họp trước đây.
You said that you were just unhappy because I was
Lợi dụng kẽ hở của pháp luật.
I was taking advantage of a legal loophole to address the council that lasts for 15 minutes.
Đây là một lời nói láo bị đặt hoàn toàn.
This is a lie. This is fabrication.
Tôi đã chứng minh cho mọi người thấy ông là một người nói láo.
I have proved for everyone that you are a liar.
Và đã sử dụng côn đồ lưu manh để đàn áp tiếng nói đối lập những người như tôi.
And that you have utilized thugs to oppress people who might be there to raise up their voice like I do. Bill, thank you.
I'm not attacking you personally. I'm just pointing out your shortcomings, unethical or illegal actions, in hope that we will have a better mayor, hopefully a more transparent, democratic, professional, if not moral, moral council that we all deserve in the future. Please vote yes on every seat. Thank you.
Next speaker is Barry Raines.
Good evening, Terrible Terry Raines, Westminster. I attended the Conchi Monument Committee meeting on Monday. What a cluster F-U blank K that was. But on Tuesday, I had the pleasure of riding along with our great police department's homeless liaison team. Vice Mayor Manzo also rode along